There is an app on your phone that charges you money to notice your own spending. It sits on the home screen next to the weather and your banking icons, and once a month it quietly takes its cut. One of the popular ones, You Need a Budget, runs $14.99 a month. Pay by the year, and the paywall asks for $109 instead. That is real money leaving your checking account every single year for a piece of software whose one honest job is to watch where the rest of your money goes. Think back to the subscription screen you actually signed up on. The pitch was simple, and it was good. Link your bank, and the app records every purchase automatically, sorts it into neat colored categories, and hands you a clean chart at the end of the month. You never have to write anything down. You never have to add anything up. It does the noticing for you. That is the whole product. That is what your $109 a year buys, the thing that watches your money for you. Here is the part nobody prints on the pricing page. That fee lands whether you save $1 or not. The app bills you in a month you overspent exactly the same as a month you got it right. You can go a whole year barely opening it, watching the little renewal notice tick over on your card statement, and it will keep charging the card on file without ever once asking whether it helped. That is the modern trap. Not dramatic, not even dishonest. Just a recurring line item you stop noticing, running quietly on the very tool you bought to help you notice things. Now set that $109 next to what the same job used to cost. A blank paper ledger, ruled into columns, runs about $1 at the drugstore. Rule those columns into a notebook already sitting in your kitchen drawer, and it costs you nothing at all. Same job, notice your money. One version bills your card every January. The other one waits in the drawer and never sends an invoice. So the obvious question is why anyone still pays. If a $1 notebook and a $109 app both do the same thing, the app at least does it faster, cleaner, and without ink on your fingers. The app syncs to your bank in real time. The notebook just sits there until you pick up a pen. On paper, the software should win in a walk, except it does not. And this is the loop I want you to hold on to for the next few minutes because it sounds impossible the first time you hear it. A handwritten ledger, filled in by hand, with no sync, no chart, and no automation of any kind, changes how people actually spend more than the app that does all of it for them. Not because paper is magic, it comes down to the one thing the app was built to take away. The app's best feature is that it saves you the trouble of stopping to write the purchase down. And that pause, the half second it takes to copy a number onto a page by hand, is the exact moment the whole thing turns on. The app deletes that pause on purpose, and it sells you the deletion as convenience. The pause is the point. I did not come up with that line, and neither did some fintech startup with a subscription to sell. The paper version of this idea, the ledger that beats the app for the very reason the app costs money, was drawn up well over a century ago, and it has been kept in ordinary Japanese kitchens for generations, long before anyone thought to link a bank account to anything. Who built it, in what year, and why a working newspaper journalist sat down and turned a plain ruled notebook into something ordinary households could run on their own is where this gets good. Because whoever put pen to that first page did not build it for accountants and did not build it for banks. They built it for the exact people the banks had no interest in helping at all. Her name was Hani Motoko, and the year was 1904. She was a newspaper writer, which in Japan at that time was very nearly a contradiction in terms. Motoko was born in 1873 in Hachinohe, a cold town up on the northern coast, into a former samurai family that had watched its old rank dissolve as the country modernized around it. That detail matters because it means she grew up close enough to money worry to take it seriously. In 1897, she walked into the offices of the Hochi Shimbun, one of Tokyo's daily newspapers, and took a job first as a copy editor correcting other people's columns, then as a reporter filing her own. That made her, by the standard record, the first woman to work as a newspaper journalist in Japan. Hold that picture for a second. A newsroom full of men, in a country where a married woman's wages and property were not really her own, and one woman at a desk in the middle of it paid to notice things and write them down plainly. That is the person who first drew up the paper ledger you are now being sold a software version of. She did not publish it in a bank pamphlet or an accounting manual. She published it in her own magazine. Motoko ran a household magazine called Kate no Tomo, which comes out roughly as Family's Friend, and years later the same publication was renamed Fujin no Tomo, Woman's Friend. That is where the ledger first appeared, in 1904, printed for ordinary readers to copy into notebooks at their own kitchen tables. She gave it a plain name too, Kakeibo. It just means household account book. No mystique, no ritual. A book for the accounts of the house. So why would a working journalist bother to design a budgeting method and give it away in the pages of a magazine? This is the part that turned the whole thing over for me. In Motoko's Japan, most women could not own property. A wife could run a household from morning to night, feed a family on whatever her husband earned, and still hold no legal claim on any of it and no real say in where it went. Motoko looked at that and saw the one lever hiding in plain sight. The single economic act a woman in that position fully controlled was the daily spending, the coins and notes that moved through her hands at the market and the shop. If she could see all of it, written in her own hand on her own page, then she could steer it. The ledger was leverage. It handed the person who was not allowed to own the money the power to actually direct it. That is a very different thing from what the app on your phone is selling. The app wants to lift the noticing off your hands. Motoko built a tool whose entire purpose was to put the noticing back into them on purpose, because for her readers, that noticing was the only power on the table, and she did not stop at one notebook. In 1921, Motoko and her husband founded a school in Tokyo called Jiyu Gakuen, which you can read as the School of Freedom. The whole place was built around a single idea that people should learn to run their own lives, their own money, their own households, without waiting to be managed by anyone. The ledger was never a standalone money trick. It was one piece of a much larger philosophy of self-reliance, and it is the piece that outlived the rest. It got named, kept, and refined in Japanese homes for the next 100 years. So carry that with you as we get to the actual method. A journalist designed this, and she designed it for people who had been shut out of their own finances as a way to see clearly and decide for themselves. And because a journalist built it, it does not run on software. It runs on questions. 4 of them asked in a fixed order every single month over a plain ruled page and a pen. Those 4 questions are the entire engine. There is one of them almost everybody writes down and then quietly skips. And that skipped question is exactly why most people who try this decide too early that it did not work. That is what we lay out next. So here is the whole engine laid out on a single ruled page. The Kakeibo runs on 4 questions, and the order is the point. You ask the first 2 at the start of the month before a single dollar has moved. Question 1, how much money do you actually have? Not your salary on paper, but what is left after the fixed costs are already gone. The rent, the loan payment, the insurance, the bills that arrive whether you think about them or not. That number, the real one, goes at the top of the page. Question 2, how much of it do you want to save? You pick a figure and you pick it now, in the calm of an empty month, not in the wreckage of the last one. Then comes the move that makes the rest work. You take that savings figure and you set it aside first, before you plan a single purchase. Earn $3,000, decide to keep $500, and the $500 leaves the moment the paycheck lands, into a separate envelope or a separate account, out of reach. What is left on the kitchen table is your month. Save first, live on the rest. It sounds almost too plain to matter, and it quietly reverses the thing most of us do, which is spend all month and save whatever survives, which is usually nothing. Now the month begins, and here is where the pen earns its keep. Every purchase gets written down, by hand. The coffee, the train fare, the new charger cable, the dinner you did not plan on. You write the amount on the page as close to the moment you spend it as you can manage. A small reckoning at the end of each week when you add the column up and look at the total, and then the whole picture at the end of the month when you add the weeks together and look again. But writing the number is only half of it. As you write each purchase down, you sort it into one of 4 buckets, and the sorting is where the method does its quiet work. Bucket 1 is needs, the survival spending, food and rent, and the clothes you actually wear. Bucket 2 is wants, the optional spending, the takeout on a tired night, the impulse buy at the register. Bucket 3 is culture, the books and the museum ticket and the concert. Bucket 4 is unexpected, the car repair, the medical bill, the birthday gift you forgot was coming. 4 columns, and every single thing you buy lands in one of them, chosen by your own hand. That choice is the whole trick. When you have to stop and decide, in ink, whether that $40 dinner was a need or a want, you cannot pretend you did not notice it. The takeout that felt invisible all month suddenly has a column and a number and a label you wrote yourself. Sorting by hand is what drags the mindless spending into the light, because you are the one who has to file it. If a 100-year-old notebook out-teaching a paid app is the kind of thing you want more of, subscribe, and the next method finds you on its own. Now back to the one part almost everyone gets wrong, because there is a fourth question, and it is the one that separates the people this works for from the people who quit. Remember the order? Questions 1 and 2 open the month. Questions 3 and 4 close it. Question 3 is simple bookkeeping. How much did you actually spend? And you already have it sitting in your weekly totals. Question 4 is the hard one. How can you improve? It is not a number you tally. It is a sit down at the end of the month with the finished page in front of you, asking yourself plainly why the wants column ran over, what you would move next month, what quietly ate the savings you meant to keep. And that fourth question is the step almost nobody does. Here is the honest part. Plenty of people who try the Kakeibo fill the columns faithfully for a few weeks, add up the totals, and then never actually sit down and read what the page is telling them. The writing without the reflection changes nothing, and when nothing changes, they decide the notebook does not work, when really they only ever did 3/4 of it. The people paying for an app almost never do this last part at all because the app never asks them to. Which brings us all the way back to the question we started with. How can writing something down by hand beat software that syncs to your bank in real time and does all of this automatically? Here is the answer. The syncing is the problem. The app records the purchase so smoothly that you never have to notice it, and the noticing was the entire point. The half second of friction, the pen stopping on the page while you decide which column this was, is not some flaw the app kindly removed for you. That friction is the working part. The pause is the point. Automate the pause away, and you have automated away the one thing that was ever going to change what you do next. So the method is not really about the notebook or the 4 questions or even the 4 buckets. It is about that pause repeated on purpose until you can see your own money clearly. Which raises the fair question a skeptic should be asking by now. If paper is this good, what is it actually bad at? That is where we go next. So let me be the one to say the part a salesman never will. Paper has real limits, and if I hide them from you, the whole method turns into a con. The notebook will not sync across your devices. Write a purchase down at the kitchen table, and it is not waiting on your phone at the office. There is one page, and it lives wherever you last set it. It will not auto-categorize a single line for you. That sorting of a purchase into needs or wants, the handwork that dragged your quiet spending into the light, is something you do yourself every time, or it simply does not happen. It will not split a shared account down the middle for 2 people. It will not chase a refund, flag a double charge, or warn you the night before a free trial flips into a bill. A budgeting app does all of that genuinely, and some of it well. The manual labor of the Kakeibo is the method itself. A century of use never wore it away because it was never meant to come off. And that means it is honestly not for everyone. If your money runs on 2 incomes, 5 credit cards, and a dozen automatic drafts, a ruled paper notebook may be the wrong tool, and I would rather you hear that from me now than quit it frustrated 3 weeks in. But hold the price tag up next to the promise for 1 honest minute, because this is where it turns sharp. The app is not evil. Nobody in an office is plotting against you. Just follow the money. That subscription is built to charge you $109 a year on renewal, whether you saved $1,000 last month or nothing at all. Its business does not get better when your spending gets better. It gets better when you forget to cancel. The notebook has no such appetite. It cannot renew itself. It cannot upsell you a premium tier. It earned its $1 the day you bought it, and it will never once ask you for more. When the tool sold to help you save only makes its money while you keep paying, the friction it politely removed was never really removed for your sake, which lays the whole quiet trick bare. The thing that watches your money for you works by making sure you never look at all, and the looking was the entire point. That half second where the pen stops on the page and you decide which column a purchase belongs in, that pause is the point, and no software running while you sleep can ever hand it back to you. So here's the shift I would ask you to make. Not a new system, not another app to replace the app. Just a quiet return to noticing your own money, one handwritten line at a time, the way a working journalist meant it more than 100 years ago. Buy the cheapest notebook on the shelf. Rule 4 columns down a blank page. Write down what you spend by hand for 1 month. Sit down at the end and actually read what the page is telling you. Then pass the habit to whoever comes after you, the way it was kept and handed down for a century. And tell me 2 things in the comments. Which subscription do you still pay for every month but barely ever open? And did anyone in your life ever teach you to write your spending down by hand, an envelope of cash on the counter, a grandmother's worn housekeeping book, the way your own family kept its accounts long before an app offered to keep them for you? I read those, and the ones I learned the most from come from a tradition that is not mine at all. The notebook costs $1. The choice, like it always was, stays yours.